So this is the first lesson for graphing functions using a table of values that involves two operations. And in this example, we're going to look at y equals 3x minus 1, graphing this linear equation using a table of values. And it's just like our output and input examples before. In this case, our output will be equal to 3 times our input, which is our x value. So 3 times our input minus 1. So the way we do this is we once again create a table of values or with x and y headings, and we can pick any x values we want. In this example, we're going to again use -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. And so in each case, we're going to use our x value as how we're going to calculate the given value or the value of y. So we're going to sub into our linear equation and solve. So the first question, we're going to take a look at if we're going to sub in 3 times our input, which is 3 times -2, and then take away 1. So this is, and then we'll put our value in our table of values. So 3 times -2, and make sure you sub it in brackets, is -6 take away 1. -6 take away 1 is -7. So we put that value into our table values. And so when x is -2, y is -7, or our output is 3 times our input minus 1. So 3 times -2 is -6, take away 1 is -7. So we can pick any value of x we want. And once again, we're going to take -1 as our second value. So 3 times -1 is -3. We take away 1, and we have y equals -4. And remember that you have to use order of operation here. You have to multiply before you subtract. So we put -4 into our table of values. Next, we're going to put in 0 for x. Well, 3 times 0, anything multiplied by 0 is 0. So 0 take away 1 is -1. So we put -1 into our table of values. Next, we're going to sub in x equals 1. So 3 times 1 is 3. Take away 1 is 2. And put that into our table of values. Last example, we're going to go 3 times 2. And 3 times 2 is 6. And we have to then subtract 1. And so our y value for this example is 5. So we're going to graph this linear equation, and our first coordinates are -2, -7. So we go to -2 for x and down to -7 for y, and we can plot a point. So there's -2, -7. We're going to plot a point at -1 and -4 next. And then our next coordinates are 0, -1. So our x coordinate is 0, so we stay on the y-axis, and we move down to -1 for our y coordinate. And then our next coordinate is 1 for x and 2 for y. And we put a point at 1, 2. And lastly, we put a point at 2 for x and 5 for y, so 2, 5. And so now what we can do is construct the line through these points. And so when you draw your line, it's going to pass through all these points in both directions. And you should also label your line